Here we go again.
Plans to run again in 2024. We'll address that at some length tomorrow, but first, another crisis in the news. So after the killings in Buffalo and Uvalde a few weeks ago, you began to hear people on television
Totally not staged. Moving on.
talk about something called red flag laws. The government, they informed us, could actually end mass shootings tomorrow simply by taking the guns away from mass shooters before they commit mass shootings. It's not complicated. In fact, it's such an obvious solution that you had to wonder why we weren't already doing that. Who does want to prevent mass shootings? Well, only the gun lobby. Everybody else cares about children. So a lot of Americans, not surprisingly, now say they want
I don't care about either.
flag laws. And why wouldn't they? Like supporting Black Lives Matter, or fighting climate change, or getting the COVID shot, or standing with the brave people of Ukraine. Red flag laws seem like one of those ideas that no decent person could possibly oppose. You want crazy people to have guns? Of course you don't. Who would? So naturally
I have a short story. My friend got red flagged before he killed himself. He was a Marine. He served this country. And he was deemed irresponsible with the weapons that he owned. So the cops stormed his house, they took his guns, and guess what happened? I already told you, he went and got another gun on the black market, and he shot himself in the fucking head. So the lesson I got from that was freedom is not negotiable.
or for red flag laws. And in fact, we may soon get red flag laws across the country. So what would that mean if we do? Well, two things you should know. First, red flag laws will not end mass shootings, but red flag laws will end due process. Due process is a simple concept, but it's the key to everything that is good about America. In our system of justice, citizens cannot be punished without first being charged with a crime. Politicians cannot just decide to hurt you, throw you in handcuffs, lock you in jail, seize your property, simply because they don't like how you think or how you vote. No.
Oh, they can, Tucker. Where have you been suckling on the teat of that Swanson chicken broth or whatever company you were an heir to?
Before they punish you, they have to go through a formal process in which...
I don't have a pussy, but if I did, it would look like Tucker Carlson.
They describe which specific law you broke and exactly how you broke it. They have to prove it. For serious crimes with big penalties, the government has to convince a group of your fellow citizens first. It's called a grand jury. And this government must convince them that you deserve to be punished or they cannot proceed. None of this is new. This is the way we've done things in America for more than 200 years.
Except for black people and poor people and women. Yeah, little... It's worked for rich white motherfuckers. Let's be real. It's worked just fine for them.
It's exactly why we have and have always had the fairest justice system in the world. People move to this country from all over the globe to benefit from it. But red flag laws will end this. Under red flag laws, the government doesn't have to prove you did anything wrong in order to strip you of your most basic rights. All that's required to punish you is a complaint, possibly even an anonymous complaint, in which somebody says you seem dangerous.
I mean, if you're dumb enough to seem dangerous, then you might be dangerous. I understand the argument. Does that mean I support the government going into houses and violating your constitutional rights? Fuck constitutional. It's like you literally own something. If it's like you can own a knife, you can own a tank of gasoline. You could burn somebody to death by just striking a match at the gas station. Do we outlaw that too? No. No, it's this obsession with guns and its ties to what I believe is an American masculinity, you know, going back to the cowboys and Indians. And we've seen with the military-industrial complex, which both parties have heedlessly supported and funded with our tax dollars and they're going to keep doing that. So until we start to see that change, and until we start to see the disarming of the state, and that includes every cop and every military man with a gun, we should not even be discussing private property and dismantling the rights of private citizens. These are the people who are supposedly supposed to protect us. But we know that's a lie.
Now, that complaint doesn't come from a grand jury. It can come from anyone, including someone who hates you or someone who simply doesn't like your politics. It doesn't matter because no jury will ever see it. On the basis of that unproven complaint, you lose your freedom and your ability to defend yourself and your family. Now, how could that possibly happen in this country? Well, the Supreme Court has said unequivocally that it can't happen here. A year ago, the Supreme Court ruled in a case called Caniglia versus Strom. Police in Rhode Island had seized the personal firearms of a 68-year-old man whose wife had called in a complaint against him after they had an argument. That man had committed no crime. He'd never been convicted of a crime, and he was judged by doctors to be sane. And yet the authorities took away his guns anyway. He sued under the Fourth Amendment, and the case went all the way to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, you know what? Fuck the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court didn't allow butt-fucking until 2003. I shit you not. It's called Lawrence versus Texas. They arrested two gay men in a hotel room, minding their own business, shooting hoops and whatever, because some closet homo called the cops on them. And then they had to take it all the way to the Supreme Court. Imagine that. Imagine being a judge and having to hear that case and having to take an actual stance on it as if it's any business of the state. My point is that the Supreme Court fucking sucks. It should be abolished. It should be, figuratively in Minecraft, of course. I have to preface that. It should be burned to the ground in Molotov, just like every other fucking failed institution in this goddamn worthless consumer capitalist fucking country of ours.
The result was not even close. The Supreme Court sided with the gun owner in that case in a rare 9-0 decision. That means that every justice, liberal and conservative, agreed that authorities cannot just seize your property or throw you in jail because they don't like the way you look or because someone is mad at you. So red flag laws are...
They do that all the time, though. That's the thing. The cops don't give a shit. Where's the Breonna Taylor segment, Tucker? Where's that? Have we forgotten about all the cases of police brutality that still exist on the daily? If you're smart, you'll record it, but most people don't, because they're too scared. This mafia has literally infected this pus-filled country, and they're ruthless. They're murderers. They're dictators. They're sovereign citizens, and they know it, and they need to be shown otherwise. And red flag laws are just another step in the wrong direction in terms of, depending on how you look at it, if you don't believe in government, if you've accepted that government is a failed concept, and the only government that truly exists is government of the self and of the soul, then you understand that laws are, at best, coincidental with morality. They do not promote morality, nor do they enforce it. What they do is they inconvenience the vast majority of people into doing things that they otherwise would not naturally be prone to do.
How is Joe Biden able to ignore a Supreme Court decision from last year? Simple. He declares an emergency and does what he wants. He's done it before. The White House did the same thing with the eviction moratorium and vaccine mandates last year. It's an emergency. We don't have time for due process. So you can see why Democrats love emergencies. Nothing gives them more power more quickly. They've declared the atrocities in Uvalde and Buffalo an emergency, unlike the daily mass shootings in Baltimore and Chicago, cities they run and whose killings they therefore assiduously ignore. And on the basis of that emergency, they can move forward with gun confiscation. So the White House now wants Congress to pass a law paying the states to enact red flag laws. And here's the amazing part. At least 10 Republican senators are backing this effort from the Biden White House, and that means this is virtually guaranteed to pass. What's their reasoning? Well, here's one of those senators, John Cornyn of Texas.
You have colleagues in the other chamber who are already coming out against this before you've even put out a proposal.
I'm not surprised. Some people will not want to touch this with a 10-foot pole because they're concerned about the...
Listen, I don't care what this Texas fuckwad says. Listen to me here. The fact that they are not prosecuting the cops involved in the Uvalde cover-up, if that's not enough to show you that this country, let alone the state of Texas, is an abject, objective failure of justice, then nothing's ever going to convince you, my friend. You have not only drank the Kool-Aid, you are drunk off of it, and you're injecting it in your veins. Because look, as if this wasn't the agenda all along, when Ronald Reagan vilified black Americans for taking arms, and Clinton, there was an assault rifle ban at one point, and then it went the other way due to just a mass amount of NRA funding. But the point is, it really doesn't matter what the laws are, because the laws are the laws, and people who disagree with those laws are bound to break them. And so what you end up doing is, like, you end up inconveniencing a bunch of people who really aren't doing any harm to anyone. So where is the government in terms of morality? It doesn't exist. It's never existed since the start of our country, the foundation, slavery, pretending to be freedom. And you guys still fucking buy it. These conservatives still fucking buy it. And these, voters, I should say, the 50% and the ever-decreasing block of voters, they still buy it. And I just don't understand it.
Congress who had sex with a Chinese spy, demanding that cops disarm Ben Shapiro because Ben Shapiro says things the Chinese government disagrees with. This is from Eric Swalwell. Quote, "Please tell me this lunatic does not own a gun. Reason number 1,578 that America needs red flag."
No, I got it. That is pretty funny, because Ben Shapiro, he does kind of give off a school shooter vibe.
Created in order to protect. These rights pre-exist government.
These rights pre-exist government. Well, actually,
how about the right to smoke weed, Ben Shapiro? Oh, never. Oh, what was that? What was that? Am I being unbrainwashed? No. Go back to sleep. Go back to sleep, man. Go back to sleep. Daily Wire contributor. Go back to sleep.
Our founding documents make that point, which he is merely repeating. But on the basis of effectively quoting the founding documents of the country we live in, Eric Swalwell says the police should show up at Ben Shapiro's house.
Okay, look, Tucker Carlson, he obviously doesn't give a shit about guns. He doesn't give a shit about your rights. That's all I have to say about this shit. Goodbye.